Welcome to part 5 of the VenueMagic Events tutorial as part of the Secrets of the VenueMagic Masters series of video tutorials. In this video, we'll learn about the multi-event event and how we can use it to do cool things like random playback of timelines. The multi-event event is available for timelines in VenueMagic Classic and above. However, most of what we're going to show you now requires the event table, which we discussed in the last video, and the event table is only available in VenueMagic SC+. In addition, the method we will use for random playback of timelines requires version 4.0 of VenueMagic SC+. Again, we expect that you have already viewed the VenueMagic Getting Started series of videos. If you haven't, you might consider doing that. Be sure you've also viewed the first 4 videos of this series on VenueMagic events. First of all, let's deal with the name of this type of event, the multi-event event. Yes, that does sound redundant, doesn't it? So from here on out, we're just going to call it the multi-event. But basically, the multi-event is an event that when triggered can trigger other events either simultaneously, in order, or randomly. To help make things easier to understand, I have created a VenueMagic project with 5 very simple timelines. Each one of these timelines has a single audio clip that plays a nice lady speaking a number between 1 and 5. We have 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. Now, let's open the event table and add a multi-event. Then we'll add a run timeline event for each of our number timelines. So if I keep adding them this way, it's going to take longer than I want. So let's do this. Right-click on this one and select Copy. Then we'll click in the empty area and select Paste as Peer. We'll talk about what peer means later on. So I'm going to paste this 3 more times. Notice how the event name is automatically updated for us. What it's really doing is looking for a number at the end and adding 1 to it each time. If there is no number, it will append 1 to the end, starting with the number 1. Unfortunately, it does not automatically select the timeline, so we'll need to go back and do that manually. Say 3, say 4, and say 5.
We now have a multi-event with 5 run timeline events. Let's call them sub-events because they're actually sub-events of our main multi-event.
Now select the Trigger tab. Keep in mind this is the Trigger tab for the main multi-event, not the sub-event. We're going to set the trigger mode to no trigger because we're going to trigger it from a Q button using the event table event we learned in the last video. Now click OK and OK. Next, we'll move over to the event folder in the project window and drag over an event table event into the Q buttons. I realize that event table event also sounds kind of redundant, so we'll just call it a table event. Open the new Q button properties, give it a caption, then click Setup Event, and for our event, we will choose Say 1 to 5.
Now click on the Q button.
It's not very discernible, but the nice lady is actually saying all 5 numbers at once. Let's go back to the event table and make some changes. The first thing I'm going to do is make a copy of Say 1 to 5 so we can go back to the original later on. Right-click the event, then select Duplicate Select Event. I also could have used Copy and Paste with this one, but instead I used Duplicate Select Event, which does both at once. Notice how the duplicate automatically changed the number 5 to 6. This is one of those situations where we really didn't want auto-numbering, so we'll go change the name manually. I called it Say 1 to 5 and appended with conditions, because we're going to add conditions to each of the events. Using VCS Slider 1 as an external input, I'm going to set up conditions so that this event is only triggered when Slider 1 is greater than or equal to 0 and less than 20. Then I'm going to do the same with the other events, dividing the slider range into 5 equal parts, 1 range for each event.
I'll speed things up so we're not here all day. Maybe a little faster. Whew, and here we are.
By the way, if we look at the Triggers tab for one of our sub-events, it defaults to level rather than edge. This is because the condition for a sub-event is only evaluated when its parent event is triggered, which in most cases means you really don't need an edge trigger. You may also notice that the no trigger option is unavailable. That is because this option, if you think about it, doesn't make any sense for a sub-event. Now click OK, OK, then OK. Rather than drag another table event into a queue button, let's just make a copy of the queue button. Then we'll go in and change its name and the event it runs. Now bring up the VCS, set slider 1 to 0, and click the button.
1,
Wow, it worked! Click it again.
1,
Now let's move the slider up and try it again.
2,
Positioning the slider for the range we set up conditions for will play the associated timeline.
3, 4, 5,
Okay, now back to the event table. Remember this event? It's the one without conditions. Double-click on the event and let's make some changes.
This setting is the sub-event trigger mode. If we have multiple events listed here, this mode will tell us how to play them. In unison mode, they all play at the same time. Click here to see what modes are available. Let's select sequential and see what that does. OK, and click our button.
1,
This time, it triggers only the run timeline event for the number 1. Let's click it a few more times.
2, 3,
Each time you click
4,
it, it will trigger the next sub-event
5.
in the list until you reach the end and it starts back at the beginning.
1, 2,
If you like, you can change the trigger order by selecting the event and clicking on the up or down arrow.
two, 5, 1, 4, 3, 2.
Now let's try another mode. The random mode does what you think it does. It plays each timeline randomly.
Three, 2, 3, 3, 5, 4, 5, 2.
The shuffle mode also triggers the events randomly, but an event is not repeated until all of them have been triggered. In other words, if the number 1 is triggered the first time, you'll have to click the button at least 4 more times until number 1 is triggered again.
2, 1, 3, 4, 5, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2.
The overall
5,
effect is that in this
3,
mode there are fewer repeats.
4, 1.
In select mode, you would select an external input and the value of that input matches selection mode value for that trigger. Let's first select an external input. The best input for this is a variable.
As you can see, we don't have any variables set up right now, so let's back out of the event table and go into the variable table. From the main menu, select Devices, then Variable Table. Now click Add and create a new variable called SelectNumber.
Now go back to our event and select that variable as the external input. While we're here, let's put our events back into the proper order. Now double-click on the Say One event and click the Conditions tab. Down at the bottom is the Selection Mode value field. By the way, this field is only visible if the sub-event mode for the parent multi-event is set to select. Since this event is Say One, let's set the value to 1. Then we'll set up the other events the same way. Now go to Tools, Watch Inputs. The Watch Inputs window is a special tool for monitoring external inputs in real time. Let's add the new variable to the list. The Watch Inputs window will show the value of any external input. However, if that input just happens to be a variable in the variable table, you can also change its value right here. Let's set the variable to a value of 1 and see what happens when we click our Q button.
1,
Now let's try the other numbers.
2, 3, 4, 5.
Ooh, isn't that cool? If I set the variable to a value not associated with one of the sub-events, then none of the events will trigger. Going back to our multi-event, we can see that there is one more sub-event mode we haven't tried yet. The key code sub-event mode lets you set up the multi-event to handle entry of a password or other code. We're going to give that mode a video of its own later on.
In the next video, VenueMagic Events Part 6, we'll use some of the things we've learned so far about events to create a randomized thunderstorm of a haunting experience. See you then!